Hello, my name is Don Hall. I've had the good fortune to be part of the Transition Towns movement for the last 16 years, and I'm currently serving as training coordinator for the International Transition Network. I'm also the author of the book, The Regeneration Handbook, Transform Yourself to Transform the World. And this is one of four short videos I'm creating for the Practicing Transition campaign, based on practices described in my book. Designing a great first project is an essential practice for all transitioners. In the Regeneration Handbook, I describe 8 key design principles based on my experience with the Suncoast Gleaning Project in Sarasota, Florida. This was the first practical project launched by Transition Sarasota in 2010 and has been a big success ever since. The first reason I believe it's been such a great first project is because it addresses a real need. Put simply, by harvesting surplus produce from local farms and donating it to local food banks, the Suncoast Gleaning Project benefits the food insecure in our community. Even in a relatively rich county like Sarasota, 10% of all residents and 25% of kids are considered food insecure. Having now donated over 500,000 pounds of produce, the Suncoast Gleaning Project has improved the lives of thousands of our community's most economically disadvantaged members. The second principle of designing a great first project means that we would be wise to focus our limited energies, especially in the beginning, on addressing issues our community already cares about, rather than trying to convince it to care about what we think is most important. Because the founding of Transition Sarasota happened to coincide with a surge of interest in local food and farming, we harnessed that momentum through the Suncoast Gleaning Project. As a result, partners, volunteers, and funders were never difficult to find. If you ignore this third principle or overestimate your capacity, which is easy to do, you may find yourself overwhelmed and unable to do anything other than just this one project. Thanks to the support of our partners, the Suncoast Gleaning Project only required 5 to 10 hours per week to coordinate and cost almost nothing to run during its first few years. Jessica's Organic Farm had already grown the produce, and All-Faith's Food Bank already had a distribution network. All we needed to do was provide the missing link. A project that requires many people to function can be a disadvantage if it fails to harness existing energy. However, if it does, there are many advantages to getting lots of people involved. By working together in the fields, Gleaning Project volunteers build community, develop new skills and knowledge, discover a sense of empowerment, and strengthen their connection with Transition Sarasota. Sometimes change-making is a win-lose, zero-sum game, but projects that benefit multiple stakeholders are often the most successful and help to build a foundation of goodwill. The Suncoast Gleaning Project provides local farmers with tax deductions equal to the full market value of the produce they donate, enables local food banks to feed more people, and invites volunteers to take home a bag of produce for themselves. A great first project also typically makes for a great story. Because it's unusual, unequivocally positive, photogenic, and easy to understand, the Suncoast Gleaning Project has been the subject of dozens of local radio and TV segments, as well as newspaper and magazine articles. This has helped promote Transition Sarasota and educate the public about food waste, food security, local food systems and regenerative agriculture. It's also been featured in Rob Hopkins' The Power of Just Doing Stuff and 10 Stories of Transition in the US, inspiring examples of community resilience building. The seventh principle of a great first project is it can be scaled up and replicated. In the case of the Suncoast Gleaning Project, it's expanded over the years to include ongoing relationships with several other local farms, the gleaning of residential fruit trees, and rescuing surplus produce from local farmers markets. It's also inspired one of our local food banks to invest millions of dollars in sourcing and distributing fresh produce, and has served as a model for a statewide gleaning project pilot program led by the Florida Department of Agriculture. This final principle has been borrowed from permaculture design. Projects that stack functions serve many different purposes and provide many different benefits. While other great first projects may only embody some of the preceding 7 principles, I believe the main reason why Transition Sarasota's Suncoast Gleaning Project has been so successful is because it embodies them all. Now that we've looked at my 8 principles, here are 4 additional examples of what I consider to be great first projects. In 2008, with the support of Transition Milwaukee, one of its members launched a Victory Garden initiative. Drawing on the proud legacy of the Victory Garden movement here in the US, and based on the model of the PermaBlitz, VGI has now installed over 5,000 gardens throughout Milwaukee, with a focus on serving low-income residents in neighborhoods. VGI also currently manages the Victory Garden Urban Farm, which gives away all of its produce and offers educational tours and workshops for hundreds of kids and adults every year. Transition Pasadena's Repair Cafe is part of a global repair cafe movement that started in the Netherlands in 2009 and has since spread to more than 2,600 communities worldwide. The basic idea is to connect people who need things fixed with those who still have the tools, knowledge, and skills to fix them. This not only saves people money and keeps items out of the landfill, but also facilitates community building and reskilling. As one of the first and biggest repair cafes in the US, Pasadena has inspired and supported many other transition initiatives to start their own. While most projects aimed at increasing local renewable energy production are costly and technically complex, Solarize initiatives are a notable exception. Organized by Transition Town Media, Solarize Greater Media simply negotiated a bulk discount with a local solar installer and persuaded 43 local households to buy in, generating 300 kilowatts of clean energy and saving participants up to 20% of the cost. This project helped earn Media Pennsylvania recognition from the US Department of Energy as a solar-friendly town, and led Transition Town Media to consult with other nearby communities, including Philadelphia's Energy Authority, which started Solarize Philly. Finally, developed by Transition Town Totnes, Transition Streets is a project that brings neighbors together to learn, discuss, and commit to produce less waste, reduce energy and water consumption, and adopt a more sustainable diet. Although an early study showed that 550 households saved an average of $900 a year and reduced their carbon footprints by 1.3 tons annually, the greatest benefit consistently reported by participants were the friendships and the community they built. Of course, there are many other great FIRST projects out there just waiting to be discovered. As a way to begin putting this information into practice, start by thinking of a project you know or have been involved in, or research one on the internet. Then reflect on that project in relation to the 8 key design principles, asking yourself how many of these principles are currently part of the project in some way. And if there are any principles that aren't currently included, how might you redesign the project to incorporate them? That's all for this video. Please visit practice.transitionmovement.org for many other great practices. Thanks for listening and good luck.